If you join us now, we have the honour in speaking to ex-New Zealand rugby player Stephen Donald, and then of course Kirstie Stanway, who's also no stranger to the rugby fraternity in New Zealand.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us here all the way in South Africa.
Thanks for having us.
I feel like I'm a little bit nervous doing this because our voices go into South Africa with the breakdown being played on SuperSport, and Sir John Kerwin and Jeff Wilson always get us into trouble because they are always slamming South Africa. So be nice to me, please.
Well, that's actually the first thing that we want to chat about, this South African-New Zealand rivalry. And Stephen, I think you being an ex-All Black and Waikato Chiefs player, played all over the world. What is it that makes this rivalry between New Zealand and South Africa such a big thing, and in actual fact the biggest in the world still?
I think obviously we're brought up with it through history. Since you've been back, I guess, from the apartheid era, it's become our main rivalry again, you know, and it's certainly, results have proven that. And you know, historically, before we were even little kids, it was the biggest thing in the world. I mean, I remember still seeing that imagery of the '96 series with the great Sean Fitzpatrick at the end of that series, which was the first ever All Black team to win a series in South Africa. So when you grow up and that is one of your visions, you realize how special and how important it is. And then I guess as a player and going through the era, I guess it's the reality of being in South Africa, playing the Springboks. And you talk about why is it so big? Well, half the reason is because South Africans are so big, aren't they? It's a very daunting prospect at times coming over to South Africa and playing people that you just wonder how they get that big, and then you get a hold of the diet and you can work out quite clearly why they're such monsters.
Yeah, that's why we've got Mike. He's the big guy.
All I'm saying is carnivore diet, Stephen. Carnivore diet.
Not many salads go down in South Africa.
In New Zealand.
When we were prepping for today's interview, I said, and we were speaking to Kobus Visser yesterday as well, and we were talking about, when we talk about rugby actually only happens between the All Blacks and South Africa. The rest is like just, hey, who are they? So this coming Saturday, I think the world will be sitting in front of their TVs to watch this game. What are your expectations for the game?
Well, I'm far enough away from South Africa, nothing can happen. So I've got a funny feeling we might jag one this week. Just with a few of the selections, it's not quite the South African forward pack from the World Cup final. And, you know, unbelievably, Eben's now gone from being completely out to completely in. So that's obviously a big bonus. Maybe that was just Russie playing his little Russie games, but it's certainly a big in. But I just don't know if they've quite got the same depth that they had, I guess, you know, what is it now, 6 months ago, or whenever that wonderful World Cup final was in France. So I feel that with Scott Barrett back, Sam Cane back for the All Blacks, there's a very real chance all of a sudden where, I guess, maybe a month ago, New Zealand fans were thinking, she might be a tough 2 weeks in South Africa. But now, 2 days out, I'm pretty confident, or at least hopeful, that the boys could get to Ellis Park and do the job.
Yeah, I feel like we were really nervous after how the All Blacks performed in the England series, because both of those victories weren't comfortable for us to watch. And then obviously you guys sent a B or a C team over to Perth and still demolished the Wallabies. But I feel like we're more comfortable now that Sam Cane has been added to this team, seeing him come off the bench last week. This is like a huge talking point and a massive storyline for me after what happened in the Rugby World Cup final. He is going to have a massive game, and there's a lot of people in New Zealand right now that are saying, hold on a minute, why has Razor gone back to Ian Foster's captain? But there is a reason why. They need his experience in South Africa, and they need those concrete shoulders. Like, Beeves played with him, and he always tells us the stories about Sam Cane, about he tries to hit you and hurt you. That is why he's in the team.
And it's funny that you guys talk about Sam Cane now, and we didn't really want to bring up the World Cup, anything. You know, South Africans, we don't hold on to those type of things, hey? I mean, all I'm saying is when we count, we place emphasis on 11 and 12. That's what we place emphasis on. But talking about the captains and Sam Cane, let's address that as well. Siya Kolisi, Sam Cane, that is a battle in itself. Yeah. What do you guys think about that?
Obviously, I mean, Sia's. I mean, we all heard the stories from France. What was he? Fat and something else. But he's got back to. Yes, that's right. But he's got back under the Springboks, and geez, I've never seen him play better. That game in Brisbane that he played, I thought he was phenomenal, and he looked like he had a few more strings to the bow. And obviously, we all know the standing he has in South Africa and the inspirational leader he is. As a contest, you know, him versus Sam. Ideally for the Springboks, they'll want to go closer as far as the rucks, and it won't be a wide scenario, what have you, where obviously you would probably back Sam to beat Siya, all things being even, to the wide breakdowns or to those wider rucks. So you would imagine Sam will be the one that's a menace at the breakdown. And he'll be the one trying to create turnovers or at least slow the ball down for the Springboks. And that'll be a battle in itself. As you say, Kurt said how important Sam Cane is and how well it's been received, certainly on our radio show this afternoon when the team's been named. The other big thing Sam Cane does for the All Blacks is he will lead the defensive line. He very much is our best tackler, by far and away New Zealand's biggest tackler. And it's funny because he's not a big man, certainly by probably South African standards, but he does hit and he does have timing. And if he can have an impact on the game, then I think that goes a long way for the All Blacks.
Beeb's going to talk tactics. I'm going to talk about them as people. I don't think I realised the impact that Siya had on the people of South Africa until that Rugby World Cup final. When the final whistle went, like the entire stand behind us of about 40,000 people and a lot that were travelling over from South Africa were screaming Siya's name. And that's when I realised the impact that he has on your nation. And he puts the entire country on his back. The pressure that guy is under, and the amount of people that love him. Sam Cane doesn't have that pressure anymore because he's not the All Blacks captain. So he just gets to go out there and play with freedom. All of these tests are bonus tests for Sam Cane, because a lot of people didn't expect him to be back in this environment. Once he decided, look, I'm off to Japan, I'm going to look after my family, my future secure for the next 3 years, people didn't expect him to be back. He's back playing his 97th test match without the pressure of being the skipper in this team.
It's interesting to me, you talked about the people, you talked about the size of South Africans, Rouchelle, and we mentioned earlier that obviously salads don't win scrums. We've spoken about various competition between the captains. But Rassie Erasmus, Stephen, you mentioned earlier, is it a game that Rassie is playing? Rassie versus Razor. How is this one going down? And do you think even being used as part of the bomb squad is part of his tactics?
Not on the bomb squad, is he? He's going to be starting, let's be honest.
Wow.
And Andre Pollard's probably going to come in to start as well somehow.
Within the first 2 minutes, changes are happening and a water carrier is being used in a specific way. Oh. But the thing is, how do you prepare for a team like this?
Well, I mean, the All Blacks, what they need to do is they need to somehow nullify what the Springboks are going to do to them, and the Springboks are going to come at them at set piece time, and then they're going to come at that first ruck, because if they can come at our set piece, disrupt that, and if they can come at our first ruck and make that slow, then they can nullify what the All Blacks need to do. The All Blacks need to play quick. I mean, that's been the differing tactics between the Springboks and the All Blacks probably since this thing all started 100 years ago. The All Blacks are going to be a smaller but possibly a faster, creative team. Well, not faster because obviously Chisholm and Colby can't move. But I'm talking about from an overall point of view, they're going to want to play at tempo. They're going to want to get that first ruck quick, and then McKenzie's going to come around, and he's not going to. The key for us is not being able to get the Springboks team to set their defensive line. And if we can keep going quick, then they can't get that fast line speed to come and nullify the McKenzies, the Rico Ioanis, the Will Jordans, the Bodie Barretts of the world. We need to be able to get them in the game, and we just can't get tied down with slow rucks on the back of a very good Springbok kicking game. So we've got to win our own set piece. We've got to make sure that we can launch well, and when that kicking game comes to us, we can't get stuck in those trams on slow rucks. So it's a very easy game, and sitting on my couch, that'll be all you need to do.
But don't you love that this battle is going on between these coaches as well? Because Brassy is like this seasoned professional that is playing games with the media. He's like this master tactician. And then you've got Razor, who's just trying to get through the press conferences. He's been under so much pressure in the last couple of months that he's never felt when he was a Super Rugby coach, especially after losing that match against Argentina. This is the biggest test of his career, without a doubt.
Just about to say, Ellis Park is quite an intimidating field to play on.
Stephen's laughing. Do you have any stories of Ellis Park, Stephen?
Look, where would you start? But I mean, no, but
we can start at 1995.
Well, I was about to say, because I mean, again, as a child, would have been 10 or 11 watching that World Cup final, and I remember it like it was yesterday because of the excitement around Jonah and all the rest of it, and getting up and the parties that were going around. But from then on, as a 10 or 11-year-old, it just sort of became this place that, once you started to think that you might have had a career in rugby, you had to get there. And I know the boys have talked about all week about it being intimidating and all the rest of it, and there's going to be some people in the stand that are going to be, possibly not even human. But the reality is it's the place you want to play. You want to play there as an All Black. You want to be tested about it. I mean, going to South Africa as a New Zealand rugby player it's the greatest thing you can do. And it's a huge shame the boys don't get to do it in Super Rugby anymore. And I really think there's generations now that are going to sort of miss out on the magic there, because it really is the best place to go touring as a rugby player. But it's something that I'm sure outwardly they're saying, yeah, look, it's going to be feral. I've seen words like feral and intimidating and all the rest of it. But I think they'll be in their hotel just getting so excited about that bus trip to Ellis Park, going past all the braais. The castle lagers, it'll all be happening. So they just want to get there, I reckon.
Amazing.
Talking about braais, Rouchelle had a couple of points here, interesting in terms of differences-wise and getting the party started.
Yes, but the thing is, what time do you have to wake up for the game on Saturday?
Well, Kirsty's working.
Well, I'm working, so apparently I'm having a nap in the afternoon, and then I'll be getting up at about 11 p.m. to kick on for the show. Beaver's Saturday evening probably looks a whole lot different to mine.
Completely. He'll have a barbecue and he'll keep on partying.
It will depend on the kids' behaviour, but ideally we'll kick on through, but then probably the rugby won't be appreciated, so maybe a wee nap at some point.
Okay, cool.
Stephen, talking about, Rouchelle said a word here now that I almost kind of flinched when she said barbecue. Is it called barbecue or braai?
Well, in our country, it's barbecue. I know the braais, and I've got many a South African friend who have been treated to a braai and the passion that they have. And I think I've gone and visited some of my friends' places in South Africa, and they've even got braais inside. Quite phenomenal setup.
I love the way you say braai. Well done.
That's why I know we're going to start a business back here at one stage with these indoor braais you have, which I was very impressed with, but we've never got it off the ground. I mean, we're getting very modern at the moment. We're using charcoal, but to be honest with you, if you're lazy and you're running out of time, we just run the gas bottle, which would give you guys a heart attack. But yeah, just fire up the gas.
The coal is so much more flavour. So much more flavour. We've actually had this argument on the show before.
Yes.
So for you, it's in the flavour?
Say 70%, it's a generational thing. Just chuck on the barbecue with the gas heater because they don't have time. But the ones that, like the finer things in life, will go for the coal barbecue.
Absolutely.
The lazy ones. Stephen, Kirstie, in closing, we want to firstly thank you guys for your time and staying up a bit later, putting the kids to bed earlier that side in the land of the long white cloud. We're getting ready to start our day, but we are building the excitement from today on. We've got Bok Friday, So every Friday, all the supporters wear their Springbok jerseys. You know about that. The vibe and the support in New Zealand. Yes, this is a game that you guys have to wake up earlier or stay up later, like you said, Stephen, depending on the little ones. What is the vibe in New Zealand like when the build-up in this game?
Massive. It is the biggest test of the year. And I think we've just realised in the last 3 or 4 hours how excited New Zealand is for this. Sometimes Kiwis can be slow burners. You see it at the game. They're not always that overly excited, but they are so excited for this test match because it is a true, genuine test and we don't know who's going to win this.
And I mean, two back-to-back test matches in South Africa, like we've talked about on the show today, it's the greatest test you can have. And, you as an individual and you as a team, you find out a fair bit about yourself when you go back-to-back against the Springboks. I was lucky enough or unlucky enough to do it myself in 2009 against one incredible Springbok team and still the toughest team I think I've ever I had the privilege to play. It wasn't much of a privilege for 80 minutes for 2 weeks in a row at Bloem and then Durban, but it is the greatest test you can have, and as we mentioned at the start, the rivalry will live forever, and it's another wonderful opportunity for a group of Kiwis to go over there and do some history.
Well, for the rivalry to live on forever, if we win, what are we going to let them do?
Very interesting that you asked that. I think let's do something. What do you guys feel is appropriate, like Rouchelle said, if the Springboks win, but also, like you said, Stephen, if the All Blacks pull this one through, what do you want us to do?
You like your biltong. Maybe you could get some biltong sent over.
Yeah, the problem with that is, we can't get biltong through customs. When I came to Cape Town for the Sevens in December, I went and got a whole heap of biltong from the local butcher, and it all got taken off me at 1 a.m. after this about 48 hours worth of travelling. So no biltong.
I think what we must do.
You can host us when we come to Cape Town next.
When we win, then we will be posting you some Springbok jerseys that you'll be having to wear through a whole show.
Oh.
Stephen, you've got a Springbok jersey. I can see that.
I don't casually wear it, I can assure you.
Finally, in closing, score prediction. Stephen, you are comfortable and confident thinking that this one is the one that the All Blacks pull back. What is your score prediction?
28-16.
Oh,
Sure.
Kirstie?
Okay.
I reckon very close to the Rugby World Cup final, but maybe a few extra tries. All Blacks by 1.
Oh.
All Blacks by 1. Well,
Rouchelle,
mine's
this is
going to
on me and
be
you.
South Africa by 1. Definitely. No,
Got a couple of draws, and I think between 3 and 5 points either side in the last 5 years. So it'll be a tight test match, no doubt about it.
You, Mike?
I reckon, Stephen, I think you are being outnumbered on this one. Apart from the fact that we believe the South Africans has got this, I think South
Absolutely.
Africa by no more than 4 points. So
Good.
let's see what happens. You might just get that Springbok jersey sooner than you think.
Oh, it's going to be lovely. Can't wait. You have to do a nice selfie. And we'll post it on social media.
Let's do it. Guys, thank you so much. It's been a privilege. Thanks, and keep well.
Thank you.